Hello everyone, I know you're waiting for benchmarks of the Tillamook, but yeah, I just couldn't finish it in time. I also went to the Scrapyard. I wasn't sure how it is because I haven't been there for about 3 months now. And with the situation in the Middle East, well, the shipping lines are more or less no longer operating. Anyway, I found a few interesting things and I thought maybe I can share this with you if you're interested. So yeah, let's do a little bit treasure hunting. So here we have a Pentium 3 CPU and a socket 370 motherboard, 866 MHz, and a frontside bus of 133. I have those already. Then I found this motherboard with an Intel DX266. I do have a weakness for these CPUs, specifically with the Intel print on it. And I think the DX2 was just such an iconic 486 processor. I'm pretty sure many of you had this back then. Do you remember when Microsoft sold their products in these plastic cases? SharePoint Designer 2007. Okay, and I found more CPUs. Socket 7, socket A. Let's see what we have there. This is a Pentium MMX. And we can see 2.8 volts. So yeah, this is not a Tillamook, unfortunately. I'm looking now. Here's a Celeron 433. This is a Duron. Yeah, I like these chips a lot, but I have already many of them. This is, I think, a 1100 megahertz chip. And then this is an Athlon 2700. This is actually exactly a chip that I had back then. This must be the Thoroughbred after the Thunderbird. And then later on came Barton. And here's another Duron 1200. And here, oh, this is a K62, K6, K62, K62 Plus. We'll figure that out later. Here we can see, based on the markings at the back, we can see there is no voltage rating, so this is a Pentium 166 non-MMX. Also, if you look at the model number 80502, 502 means Pentium non-MMX. The MMX version has a number of 503. Very crusty thermal paste here. Last one in this pile, another MMX, very dirty and so not worth taking. None of these CPUs. And here is the AMD K62. It's a 500 MHz version. It is a good CPU for Super Socket 7, but unfortunately I have the CPU so many times already, so I'm not gonna take it today. And here is Motherboard Mountain. Even though there is not much going on at the moment, they still had surprisingly quite a few old motherboards. Here is a slot 1, but heavily damaged. And between all these server parts, here is another slot 1 board, Y2K compliant, with a VR chipset, had audio on board. What else do we have? This is a socket 370 board, and it does seem to have space for SD RAM chips. And yeah, you could briefly see there's a VGA connector. And then I found this board, which I really would have loved to take with me. Look at all that memory. But the battery took most of the top left corner with it. This is not worth it, I believe. So yeah, I had to leave this board behind as well. This was an Intel 386 SX16. Would have been a very nice board. And I found some Aztec sound cards with OPL3 chips, but it also had a modem component. I almost took it, but I already have so many sound cards, and I think we can leave this also at the scrapyard. And there was even another one, same card. And then I found another box with a Pentium 2 in it. Let's see what frequency it has. It is a Pentium 2 400 MHz, 512 kilobytes of level 2 cache. Yeah, also nothing very important, but this is an ASUS P2B in revision 1.10. So this board I actually took because I have a board that, well, that suffered from very bad corrosion. I made videos about 6 of them that I saved. And yeah, maybe it's time to finally upgrade to a board that doesn't look like it has gone through hell. There were then more socket 7 boards with onboard S3 Trio 64V Plus chips, server motherboards. Oh, and this one. Yeah, I really like the blue socket. Unfortunately, this looks like it's an OEM board, not really useful, but I really like the blue socket. Socket 1, socket 2, socket 3, something like this. And here is another very compact socket 7 board. It looked nice, but it doesn't support faster clock speeds than 200 megahertz as far as I can tell. So yeah, this is definitely not a Super Socket 7 board, and unfortunately, yeah, you have to configure everything with jumpers on this board. So I decided to leave this also there. Here is another Pentium 3/Celeron board, so socket 370, and it's a Celeron. 900 megahertz actually. This would be a very nice chip, but I already have this many times and I don't need it. I feel like I will find those in the future as well. So then we have a board that's really interesting because it has a socket for a VRM. This is what Necroware's power adapter or VRM could be used for, but unfortunately his VRM only changes the core voltage, not the I/O voltage. So basically I have the same issue that I faced on my ASUS P5AB, which I modded to bring down the voltage for the Tillamook. And this board has other issues. It doesn't support high clock frequencies. It's a Gigabyte 58680. You could see maybe how the cache chips are the ones that you're maybe used to from socket 3 and 486 boards. So yeah, this board unfortunately is also not worth taking. Okay, and then I found this one. This board, well, this just screams like there is no need for signal integrity. This is a Siemens 28612N. Probably so slow that you don't need any copper planes in the middle layers of this board. You can look right through. It has a spot for a 287. Yeah, and it has memory and these DRAM sockets, which I don't have memory for. I could create some, but yeah, I still have my other 286 board that I would like to get working at some point. Another project that's on the to-do list actually. Okay, and here we have a very interesting looking cooler sitting on top of a Pentium or a Celeron Pentium 3. And what we have here, well, first of all, it's socket 370. It's very dirty underneath. And it is the SL52Q. No mention if it's a Pentium or a Celeron, but we can notice on the specification it has 256 kilobytes of level 2 cache. So this is a Pentium 3. And a cardboard box full of Xbox consoles. So these are always popping up here and there, but those ones are probably beyond repair. And then we have a little bit of recycling. Every time I watch how these guys disassemble parts, I'm getting very nervous. this was my very short scrapyard tour. Unfortunately, I found empty spots, almost empty pickups, very little activity here, and the water is still standing from rain that was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So yeah, the water doesn't easily go away and remains for months. Oh yeah, and then these ones. This is just visual aid for later. And I picked up some memory that I need for my MIDI Forge Sonata boards, the memory expansion board for the AUS64 to bring those cards to 28 megabytes. Yeah, and this is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this short excursion. I will continue with the Tillamook video, and hopefully on Monday you will have some benchmark numbers and see how the Tillamook is comparing to its competition. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my Patreons, and I will see you in the next video on Monday. Take care and bye-bye.